Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the SAFR Podcast. My name is Arvinder Singh Lally. I'm your host. Today I'm joined by Danielle. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very English. Thank you very much for having me.
No worries. We're going to have a very interesting discussion today. Something a bit different to what we've done before. We're going to be talking about trauma and relationships. So Danielle, please tell us about how you got into this field and where you come to.
What got me into mental health and then helping people with the anxiety and trauma was that I had really bad anxiety. So I grew up in Ghana. Well, I was born in Holland, grew up in Ghana, and I came here in 2016. Growing up in Ghana, I've come from a stable home in Ghana with my non-biological parents. And then my biological mom came back to Ghana from Holland and then took me away from staying with them because she was listening to a lot of pastors and they were saying a lot of things. And then at that time, I think I must have been 12, 13. So she must have taken me to one of the pastors and then they asked me, do you want to see your dad? And I thought, I just saw my dad, which was her husband. But obviously at that time, stable household, I was happy all the time. So I didn't deep, that cannot be my dad because her husband's a white man. So like when the pastor asked that, my mom's like, the last time she saw her dad, she was 2. And I was like, okay, wait, so who's my dad? The whole car ride home, she was just quiet, didn't say nothing. When I got home, she was like, remember, I used to show you this man's picture on Facebook, which, as you can guess, I do not remember. So at that time, I stopped wanting to go to my mom's house, which I was going to on weekends because I was getting uncomfortable with being taken to these pastors and churches. And then she forced me to stop staying with my non-biological parents and come stay with her. Then she asked me if I wanted to either go to Holland or London. And obviously I said London because I couldn't be asked to start learning to speak a new language. And then also I had some family here. So I thought I was going to come stay with my grand auntie. And then come to find out when I reached London, I was going to stay with my biological dad, who I didn't know I basically didn't know him. I'd only spoken to him once or twice. And then also there were cultural clashes and religion clashes because he was Muslim as well. So there was that expectancy. So staying with my non-biological dad, there was a lot of conflict within the house. I started to have heart palpitations. I used to have headaches a lot anyway, but then I was having like worse migraines and stuff, and I was always on edge because it's like he was always angry, and you know when someone enters the room and then just drains the energy out of the room, it was almost always that. So more time I'm just staying in my room, or sometimes I'm just staying in school with my teachers until like 7, 8 because I wasn't trying to be home. So all of that happening. When I started to have heart palpitations, before that, I did not even know what anxiety was. I started to research, what is it? And then it said that it was probably a panic attack and anxiety attack. So I started to look into anxiety. Then I started to look into childhood trauma. And then I also started to look into like mental health. So since then, I've just been doing a lot of research since I was like 14. And then I did sociology as well, so it helped me understand how society works and people. And then, all of that happened. And because of what I'd been through and then seen other like young people go through from like my school and stuff, I was like, I'm gonna make sure that I work on my anxiety before I have a child. Because for me, whatever you don't deal with, like, it's going to be transferred onto your child. But then not only that, like, children feel your emotions and you're more reactive instead of responsive when you're emotionally unstable. So because I wasn't trying to do that, I'd said that. And then I ended up finding out I was pregnant when I was 19. So then it was like, okay, so now there's no pushing it back on actually working on my anxiety. I'd gone to some talking therapies, didn't really work for me. And I started to look a bit more into like rewiring your nervous system and stuff. And I started to, basically do certain things where I was gaining a deeper understanding of the why. Then I was able to change what I was doing to help me improve my anxiety. So through the things that I'd done, like research-backed things, I started to improve my anxiety. And then I was watching something one day and it was talking about SOPs within a business. I was like, why can't I put SOPs within mental health? So that's how I kind of started to develop my program, where I help people uncover the root causes of their traumas and anxieties and then start to overcome them by rewiring the nervous system.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. It's good to get kind of like a holistic picture of how your journey into what sort of brought you into that sort of field, and as well as what you're doing now with your business as well. So do you want to talk a bit about that?
So right now, I'm still in the thing of setting it up. So last year I was at the Lucian Youth Theatre as a trainee facilitator. And then it was the ending that I started to do more one-on-ones with people, and then getting into public speaking as well. So I'm currently speaking to my old secondary school to go back and speak there, but also run a 6-week program called the Mirror Program, where I'm basically teaching young people how to gain a deeper understanding of themselves, but then how to approach conflict and confrontation through mainly debate, and then through role play as well.
Yeah, amazing. Just touching on the first point that you made about the whole premise of it being about anxiety and understanding what anxiety is. With your experience now, how would you define anxiety, and how would somebody who says they're anxious or whatnot, how would you sort of help them with the program or whatnot?
So anxiety shows up differently for different people, but most of the time it's over the premise of being scared of not having control, or being scared of the future and what's going to happen. And most of the times it comes from past hurt. And it's understanding where that past hurt is coming from and what feeling you're trying to avoid. A lot of the time it's maybe the feeling of shame, is the feeling of guilt, or is the feeling of sadness, and not wanting to feel it overwhelming you from that previous experience. So when you start to actually look at where it's coming from and why someone else's opinion is so important to you, then you start to see that someone that truly understands you is not going to judge you. Then you start to stop attaching yourself to the opinions of people that truly don't understand. Because there are people out here that say that they're trying to help, but they're coming from a judgmental place. Most of the time, some people's help is to only help their ego. It's to help their ego make them seem like there's a hero of some sort. Not because of you, because when you're people-based and people-focused, you're actually looking at what the person needs and what's going to get them to the end, not just what you expect of them. Because we say common sense is not common to common people, but what's common sense to you is not common sense to me. And it's being able to approach people with that compassion that I feel like a lot of people lack sometimes. I'm not saying that we should enable behavior, but I'm saying that we should have compassion. And when you allow someone to explain where they're coming from, now you know how to approach, because you know what you're dealing with. But because sometimes we've gotten so much into the thing of no excuses, you just got to get it done, we don't allow ourselves to get a deeper understanding of what the problem is, so we can give them a solution that is in alignment with what they actually need.
I think that's quite powerful, coming from a place of compassion. We spoke about this downstairs as well, but how we talk about social media can be quite rough at times, being like you have to achieve X, Y, and Z before this timeline. But in reality, we're humans, so we make mistakes, and it's part of the journey, hence the name SAFR. What do you think we could do then to sort of encourage that sort of compassion rather than kind of blaming people for their past or for their traumas?
I'll say first, having compassion with yourself, because for me, before I could move forward, I had to forgive myself, because I was beating myself down so much when I got pregnant. I was the last person anyone would think would get pregnant young. So I had to forgive myself for that. Even then, I was in a toxic relationship, but I didn't realize it was toxic because there wasn't a lot of conflict. But the thing was, I was a people pleaser. I would just go along with certain things. And I was a people pleaser because I was always avoiding confrontation and conflict. And the thing is, I would only actually approach it when I got to my edge, but I should have approached it at the beginning and set my standard. And when you actually, when you actually start to understand that there's no way that you could have chosen different because you did not have the tools, then you can now move forward. But the only way you can actually move forward is when you say, you know what, I'm going to equip myself with the tools now so I never get back to this place again. And that's what we don't understand. There's certain things that we're expecting for people, but they've never been equipped with the tools. They don't even know that the tools exist. So how are they expected to choose or do different? Because even me, the thing is, if certain things didn't happen with my son's dad, I wouldn't have chosen different if someone else that was toxic and knew how to maneuver, but like in a way that doesn't seem toxic, because they just talk you around in circles. They just keep you in a state of confusion, but you're thinking, oh, but they're not a bad person. They're not hurting me because they're also helping me, but they hurt me sometimes. And if you don't have the tools to say that, because there's no sort of consistency in a positive way, I need to leave, you're going to meet that person again. And until you actually agree that, you know what, I'm not strong within this area of my life and I need some help of how to actually navigate it, you're going to keep on repeating the same thing. And that's the first thing, is acceptance. Then it's, what can I do different? Instead of saying that, this was just done to me, I was just manipulated, I was just taken advantage of. Why did I allow this? And this is not victim blaming, but what within me allowed me to not leave myself in a situation where I didn't feel valued. What within me allowed me to continue to avoid listening to myself, or having that faith within myself to understand that I, what's that thing called? Listen to my gut. Listen to my intuition. And the thing is, even as a woman, like, we sometimes try to be too logical about things. But when you tap into your emotional being, your emotional awareness, you tap into trusting yourself. Because I didn't have trust in myself, because most of the time when I tried to do things for myself, I was reprimanded for it. The African culture sometimes, it's like, when you try to go for something that doesn't fit the status quo, then it's like, rah, you're being disrespectful, you're being rude. And I've always tried to be that respectful person, because I don't like the feeling of letting people down or people being upset with me, because then it makes me feel like, I wouldn't say that I'm not good enough, but I just don't like that feeling of being responsible for someone else's emotions. But I had to learn that I needed to get rid of that. Because if I'm caring about someone who's not in alignment with my vision and cannot see my vision, not saying that they're not smart, but they are not where I'm trying to go. And if I put that above what I'm trying to do, then it doesn't make sense.
This episode of the SAFR Podcast is sponsored by Coupon King. Coupon King, having recently launched, is a platform where you can easily find working discount codes for your favorite web shops. It's as simple as going onto the website, searching your favorite brand, clicking onto the icon, and copying the code. All links will be available in the description below. I seem like most of what you're trying to say is about the sort of introspective aspect, having those inner conversations with yourself, setting boundaries, setting expectations.
Yeah.
When it comes to whether it's a relationship, marriage, or friendship, having those conversations can be quite difficult.
Yeah, and do you know what the thing is? People jump to relationships, but before you can even teach a young person about how to navigate a relationship, they need to know how to navigate a relationship with their family members, then their friends, and then a romantic partner. But if I don't know how to healthily have a relationship with my family, then it goes into my friendships. I'm always having a breakup with friendships. There's no way I'm going to have a healthy relationship with my partner. And the thing is, we can hide our inability to have healthy relationships behind, you're not with your friends all the time. You're not having to face them majority of the time, but with your partner, you're there most of the time. You're in contact with each other every day. So now you're really going to face the parts of yourself that you can hide away with your friends, you can hide away with your family when you start to branch out. But now you're having to actually face how you're showing up, who you really are, and how consistent you are, and how much of your word is actually, how much of your word can actually be taken face front. And when that happens, I feel like that's what leads to a lot of breakdowns, because we don't know how to, one, we don't know who we are, two, we don't know what we really want, and three, we don't know how to communicate it because we don't know. And then we're entering relationships where now we can't have that confrontation to be healthy, because you're running away, you're hiding away, or you're having expectations of someone that you've never communicated. So now you're thinking, this should be common sense, this should be the standard. And there's certain bare minimum stuff that's like, that's a red flag. But there's other things where if it pertains to you and you know you're more someone that is hyper vigilant, you just expect people to do stuff. If not, you're going to do it yourself. But you have to identify that within yourself, because if not, you're going to start holding resentment to someone where you are actually in the wrong because you've not communicated it for them to actually make that change. And comes back to that expectation. I think when it comes to the expectation of healing and relationships, we expect it to be like, when you're healed, you're good all the time, you're happy all the time, you're not needing any help, you're not going to break down sometimes. But the thing is, that is life. We feel anger for a reason, we feel sadness for a reason, we feel anxiety for a reason. It's there to alert you that there's a problem. So now we do something about it. And sometimes with certain emotions, you know what, when you're sad, sometimes we just need to sit with it for that moment instead of trying to solve it or intellectualize it. You don't always need to understand it. Sometimes, you know what, I've taken an L, I'm sad, you know what, just feeling it right now. But okay, now moving forward with this situation, is there something within my control that I can work on to either make it better or make it less likely to happen? And being able to actually go through that process helps so much, because now it helps you to, one, process, but it helps you to not get stuck, and it helps you to let go of what you can't control because it's already happened, and then focus on what you actually can control. Yeah.
So coming back to, you mentioned the sort of approach, so it starts with family, friends, then relationships.
Yeah.
In our previous podcast, we did mention in the field of politics how that's some similar sort of paradigm where it's family, schools, and government.
Yeah.
So a lot of the theme is coming down to the family, right? The relationship with the parents, siblings.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, if somebody, for example, doesn't have a good relationship with their parents or their family right now, what could they do to improve that? Or likewise, if they perhaps come from a single household or they don't have siblings, how could they navigate that?
When it comes to, so like, even if you look at nuclear family, nucleus is like the heart of the neuron. And is it neurons?
I don't know.
But it's like, I think it's neurons, but which is the thing of the cell. So it's basically the center of everything. The nuclear family is the center of everything. So when that is broken, it ripples down into other parts of society. And when we actually look at how that breakdown affects society, I'm a bit biased because I've been a young person that's been neglected. Sometimes when it comes to fixing things with family, well, for me, I'm low contact with my biological mom. I'm no contact with my biological dad. I still speak to my non-biological parents. I can depend on them. But one thing I would say is that, one, if it's not healthy for you and you're not being listened to, remove yourself from that situation with your parents, if you can. But before that, actually, I normally wouldn't put I don't believe that is a child's place to fix a relationship that was broken by the parent. And obviously, coming from certain backgrounds, it's going to be like your parents did so much for you, this, that, and the other. But the thing is, I was supposed to be able to depend on you. You're the person that could advocate for me. And sometimes hearing from certain family members that nobody's going to love you more than your biological parents, but then no one has caused more hurt than them, puts your bar of love in hell, basically. Because now you're associating love with her. I would say the first thing is, if you see that your parent is trying to actually make amends, hear them out. In fact, help them out as well. This is what I need from you as a parent. I might need you to listen. I might need you to not stop being judgmental. I might need you to stop constantly criticizing me, because this is how it affects me. Communicate to them how their behavior is affecting you and what you need from them. And they can also communicate what they need from you. But then it's also a thing of how willing they are to change. And what I see a lot with our parents is control. They try to control us so much because they felt so out of control with everything else within their lives. So I do have compassion for the parents, and I do understand where it comes from. But one thing about me, even though I understand, I'm still not going to enable behaviors that are hurting people, especially kids that can't advocate for themselves. Because more time you need your parents' consent to do stuff. And if that person does not have your best interest at heart, now you're at a deficit. And a lot of these times why young people are getting into certain things or don't believe in relationships is because of the parents around. And sometimes people think the problem is single parent households, but I don't think that's just what the problem is. Because the thing is, when a mom is a single parent, most of the time the child doesn't just have a single parent. I don't know how to put it, but I'm trying to find the best way to put it. But the child is left parentless if the mom is in survival mode and does not have a community. And a lot of the time, a lot of the moms don't have the community. So now the child doesn't have a dad and he doesn't have the mom, because the mom cannot nurture, because she can't nurture properly because she's trying to survive. She can't nurture properly because she can't take care of herself to now take care of you. She's just trying to take care of you. But what can you pour into your child if you're not pouring anything into yourself? And that's what people fail to understand. So with these single parent households, more time, it's not even, you can't even say that they have the capacity to fully be a parent and show up how they need to show up when they don't have that community, because they're still in survival mode. They're still empty, running on empty, trying to give everything to their child. And that's when resentment builds. When the child is seemingly defiant, but they're just trying to be their own human being. When the child is seemingly not showing gratitude for the things you've done for them or given them, but you've not really shown them how to show gratitude. How much do you show gratitude to the child so that they know what it feels like to receive it, so that now they would want to do it for you as well? That's what we don't look at. Yeah. That's
interesting. I mean, I read a book recently called The Power of the Subconscious Mind, I think by Joseph Murphy. And it talks about between the ages of 0 to 7, especially for young children, they're like sponges.
Yeah, literally. So blank canvas.
Yeah.
I think the brain is a beta state. So it's literally, they're taking everything in, and everything is going into the subconscious, and that is building the foundation of what your child is going to have within their subconscious mind, and what they're going to relate to when they experience certain things. That's why when children have early adverse childhood experiences, later down along the line, it makes it harder to reach them, because you now lay the foundation of dysfunction. You've now laid a foundation where there's barely any connection. So sometimes people think that teenagers are just being teenagers. They don't want to talk. They don't want to like communicate with the parents. They're just trying to be hard. But before they were teenagers, how consistent were you with actually fully showing up and doing things with them that they liked, that they enjoyed, and not taking over, allowing them to lead and being immersed within it, not just being there like, you know what, I'm just here. I'm just showing up, but actually being immersed with it and being intentional about that. How many of our parents do we know like actually do that? I get it. Some parents are overworked and whatnot, but when you're intentional about even creating just a little bit of time, immerse yourself in their world, that's where you build that relationship, that connection with the child. But if you don't have any relationship, it's like, what's there to talk to you about? I'm not fully, not that you don't like your parent, but I'm not enjoying spending time with you. You know when there's someone that you meet, they're a nice person, but it's like you have nothing in common, nothing to talk about. So you're both sitting there, you're like, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
But we don't think of it like that. We just expect that kids will have a good relationship with their parent because the parent is a parent. But like, how are they showing up? Or even that thing of when people are like, this is happening because there's no dad in the house. Do you know how many people I know come from 2-parent households who are messed up boys? Because we feel aggression, we use aggression to correct, but aggression does not correct. It just teaches them to be obedient when you're there. You're not instilling values within them, you're instilling fear. So they're only going to do what's right when you're there. And even for me, the thing is like when you use pain to get someone to refrain from doing something, the pain is either going to build resistance from them or it's going to teach them how to hide better. There's only a small amount of people that would actually change from that pain. They just learn how to endure it better.
Yeah.
And when we start to deepen like that, you're seeing you're not actually doing any good to your child. You're hurting them mentally, but then you're also not instilling the value that you wanted them to have. So even though you might be right, it's cost 90. Because now they're not taking anything on.
So how do we go about sort of raising healthy children, having healthy relationships with the kids, but also, you know, maintaining the good relationship with your spouse as well as the kids, as well as work pressures and whatnot? Because I think from my personal experience, being from a Punjabi family, I was predominantly raised by my grandmother because my parents were working. So my grandma would drop me to school, she'd pick me up from school. My parents came back from work, then I'd spend time with them. So we're always in that sort of like family environment. I'll be with my cousins and whatnot. Now obviously we live like separate, so you know. So I was always around people in my family. Whether my parents weren't available, I'd go to my grandparents and whatnot. So I think for myself it was very nuanced.
Yeah.
Maybe for people that are kind of like living in sort of households where they're not with their grandparents and whatnot.
I'll say looking at building a community, and for certain people, I'll say a lot of people I've even met, is that thing of they don't have, because they're coming from brokenness, they're not wanting their child to be around that brokenness. Or sometimes because of that brokenness, they're not in contact with their family. Looking at building a community, that's one thing that has been big for me this year. Like actually taking time with my relationships with my friends and stuff. I'm still trying, but actually taking time to pour into that, because relationships are going to inconvenience you, but finding relationships that are worth being inconvenienced, but you can't get support without also giving support. So building that community and of people that you want your child, you would like to be role models to your child as well, or your future child, if you think of it like that. And because they'll be around them, but looking at of building that community, that support system, and actually, what's it called? Sometimes there might be seasons where you're having a lot of work, but when you have that community, maybe there's someone that can help you pick up the slack. But then even when you do have that, maybe your way of de-stressing might be to do a dance off with your child. It doesn't have to be too much. Sometimes 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. Have that sacred time for you and your child. Being intentional about that can help. Or you and your friend, or you and your partner, when you're trying to build a relationship, being intentional about just creating this time. You know what? This is the time where it's meant for us. Maybe not every day, maybe every other day, or at least once a week or so, to authentically show up and be that safe space. And I know people throw around the word safe space a lot, but it's a thing where sometimes people might feel a type of way about coming to you because of how you react to things. So also looking at responding more than reacting, or sometimes just taking in what the person is saying without going straight to give advice. Because sometimes they just need to let it out. And a lot of the times, the reason why I see people keep things in, or even I did, was because of the fear of judgment. Because of the fear of, you're not going to see me as how you see me. You're not going to see me as whatever, as someone that's capable anymore because of a mistake I've made. But when you realize that the people that truly love you don't judge you, then you either have to think that if I feel judged by this person, or this person is judging me, is this how I want to be loved? And is this what I want to have within my circle as well? So yeah.
I think it's quite sensitive, that whole aspect of being vulnerable, like that aspect of being judged. I'm very grateful with my friends and stuff that we're super vulnerable with each other. Like, if you have any problems, we can talk about it very openly. And you mentioned it's a safe space. I don't want to use the word, but it's a good environment to have those conversations and to help improve each other. But I think that barrier to being vulnerable, that takes a long time, that level of trust and that relationship that you build. And perhaps with parents and whatnot, like, it might be difficult to be vulnerable with them because they might set expectations of you. So if you were to open up to them, they might be like, oh, you're just a waste of time or failure or something.
That's the thing. When parents when parents meet you with criticism whenever you make mistakes, they're teaching you that it's not all right to make mistakes. But the way we learn in this world is that we learn from mistakes. We learn from trial and error. We learn and we reiterate. We learn from a feedback loop. So when you're not able to actually complete that feedback loop, now you feel stuck whenever you make a mistake. Now you beat yourself down whenever you make a mistake because you feel like you're going to get casted out. And that's a mistake that a lot of parents make. Because I have a certain expectation of you. When you don't meet that expectation, I'm not going to treat you with the love that I normally give you. So because the child is scared of that love being taken away, now you become perfectionist, you hide things away, you're lying, you start to get into bad habits because you're trying to avoid that, because you want that connection. And that's a very common way, the way the parent reacts when bad news is given. And I'm not saying that you should just do nothing when they've deliberately done something wrong, but help them problem solve. Okay, so what can I do better next time? Why did I make this decision? Understand the why, then move on to what can be done better. Move on to, okay, what is the direct consequence to what's been done right now? Instead of how you're feeling about the situation. Because when you now focus on yourself, now the child is learning to walk around eggshells when it comes to you. So now they're having to protect your emotions because you don't know how to regulate your emotions in a time of unease. Yeah,
that's really interesting. I also find that different cultures can have different sort of like when it comes to expectations and boundaries. I found a lot of my European friends, this is very open and honest, very direct. Whereas from the Asian culture, it's more, you speak more indirectly. And you effectively you don't set any boundaries or expectations. So you're kind of left wondering like, oh, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something right? Because it's never actually vocalized.
By the parents?
No, just generally, like in friendships and relationships.
Oh, okay. So basically avoiding conflict and confrontation.
Yeah.
I would say, well, with the African, I'll say Ghanaian, I'll say like African community most of the time, when it comes to, so like adults are direct with it, with what they're unhappy with, and sometimes it's very unreasonable. But the thing is, children are the ones that now, or young people, avoid it because they don't want to be seen as disrespectful for speaking up, because that's what it's normally labelled as. And I was watching one woman's TikTok the last time, and I think she must have got a piercing or something, and her mum was like going crazy. And then she was like, I told you not to do it. Why did you do it? This, that, and the other. You're being disrespectful. And then she was like, no, I'm not being disrespectful. Has what I've done harmed anyone? No. Is it going to hurt anyone? No. It's not offending anyone. Because you don't like something, that's not mean I can't do it or it's being disrespectful. I'm just making a choice for myself. And that's the thing I feel like a lot of the older generation need to understand, that because we're choosing to live a life that's not in alignment with what you want or what you deem as fit, does not mean it's disrespectful. Because we like to throw that word around, respect, but a lot of the time respect comes from an inability to voice out your own wants and needs. So now whenever someone else is voicing out something that you feel like doesn't fit the status quo, they're being disrespectful. But no, they're just choosing a different way to live. And I feel like when we start to actually get out of that mindset of things need to go just because of who I am or where I come or the status that I have because of my age, there would be better relationships between the older and younger generation. Obviously, the younger generation sometimes be doing dumb stuff in it. But the thing is, I'm not going to listen to you if I feel judged by you. I'm not going to listen to you if I feel like you're always going to be on my case for no reason. I am not going to listen to you if I don't respect you and I have no connection with you because I've seen how you live your life. That's what they don't take into consideration.
Yeah. How would someone go about with sort of amending a relationship with a family member or friend that is non-confrontational? So they're not willing to have these conversations about expectations, about how they can communicate their feeling.
Yeah.
What would be the advice in that case?
Oh, to bring it up with someone that's non-confrontational.
Yeah.
I say it's easier when someone brings it up to someone that's non-confrontational, but then bringing it up in a sense of, okay, this might be a bad habit that you have that I've seen, that this is how it's affecting, but starting the conversation with why you're having the conversation, what you want to get out of it. So I'm talking to you because for me personally, I might not like it when people shout, but when you're shouting, it triggers me because of my personal thing. So talk about the I. So it's not about them and how they're making you feel. It's about you and how you feel about something else and how they have that behavior. And it's like, because I want to improve our relationship, I want to, I'm bringing it up so that we can actually improve how I can help you with improving how you're showing up type of thing. So then you stated why you're having a conversation. You've also stated what could be done. And then you're talking about how you can help them with it. But then also bring about how if there's something about that you do that they don't like, if they can bring it up as well, so that you can strengthen your relationship by actually being vocal about these things. And the reason you're bringing it up is not to be fussy, because the thing is, when non-confrontational people get confronted, because they've overlooked so many things, they start to get triggered, because it's like, why are you bringing up something that's not that deep? But I've overlooked so much other things that you've done that were actually deep. But that's not their problem, because you did not bring it up, so they didn't know it was a problem. So now you're opening that space for them to also be comfortable with vocalizing whatever problem they have, and then bringing it as a thing where we're both working on our relationship together, but just make sure not to do it in a condescending way, because there's certain people that it's like, there's something that I feel like you need to work on because you're not showing up in a certain way that you need to, but it's like, show it as, I've noticed this because of something that outside of you doing it, it triggers me. Would it be possible to tone it down a bit? I could help remind you, or maybe if you might need a stress ball or something, you can use it within that moment to help you improve that. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want to start holding resentment by not saying anything. Yeah.
Do you think that with social media now, everything being super busy, super fast,
yeah,
we're more reluctant to have these conversations? Because if a friendship doesn't work out, we'll just move on to the next person. Or same with a relationship, just move on. Do you think that's more prevalent?
I'll say yeah. There's a lot more surface level friendships now with social media. And even for me, I realize I already know I'm a bad friend. Because I'll say low contact relationship. But I realize that low contact relationships are just an excuse to actually not show up fully without your friendships. Low contact relationships are just an excuse not to show up fully within your friendships, because it's like, just checking on you here and there. But obviously we have things going on within life, but I realized that I use that as an excuse to not actually show up with my friends. Or sometimes I was holding on to friendships that were surface level because it was a friendship where it was more of an acquaintance. So when I started to realize that, I realized that we use that as a bit of a cop-out to not actually inconvenience ourselves with the friendships that we have. Because it's like, it's low contact, that's just how I am, that's just how I need it. But I'm not saying with all your friendships, but with the ones most important to you, how much do you actually check in, know what's going on within your lives, and know much about yourselves? And not only that, I feel like we weren't even taught how to have friendships, because it's like, just focus on your education, nothing else matters. Friendships, relationships, that's not the time for it. The only thing that's important is your education. Finish your education, where's your husband? But you never taught me about choosing good friends, or that friend's not good for you. I can see she's a girl that's just wayward, don't be friends with her. Okay, what about her is not right? Why would me being friends with her, breaking it down deeper? Because sometimes it might just be like, she runs with a wrong crowd. But then if you break down to the young person for them to actually understand, friendships should be full of people that are also going to be your support system, people that are reliable, people that are accountable, people that you can trust their words. So what are the values that you have? Those core values, does your friend have those core values? And do they show up authentically within that? And if not, why are you friends with them? So that now they truly understand, okay, the why. So now they can be intentional about their friendships. Then when the relationship comes, they can be intentional about it. I'm not saying that education is not important, but when you just tell kids to forget about relationships and friendships and focus on education, you're telling them to ignore things that are happening within their life. It's, what's the word? I was just going to say it's ludicrous. Because they are still facing the challenges when they're socializing with people at school. And is a very important developmental skill that they need to develop. But we just push that all the way to the side and expect people to have healthy relationships and friendships, whilst the other relationships that they do have with family are unhealthy. So how is it? Is it supposed to work? That is the basis. That before social media, that's also the foundation of why a lot of people are not able to have healthy friendships, because we weren't taught and we didn't have good examples.
Yeah.
Because I'll say sometimes in African culture, like some of our parents, they just give until they're empty. That's not what friendships are about. Then the next moment, the auntie that they just helped, you hear them talking on the phone about that person. Make it make sense.
I think I completely agree with you when it comes to relationships. It's not something we're taught about.
Yeah.
And for myself, even with this podcast and doing other business ventures as well, like your networks, your relationships are really important. In fact, one of the biggest skills that you have alongside communication. Even that simple example I gave you downstairs about I was on the tube and I saw that Ghanaian lady. Had that little conversation with her. I was like, I love your dress. And then she told me, how to speak a bit of the language.
Yeah.
Like these little things, micro things, you don't know. Maybe, she could introduce me to someone or whatnot. But these micro things about how we build relationships and friendships.
They open doors.
Really does, yeah.
And it's not just that, it's maintaining them. I'm bad at that. No, I'm good and I'm bad. Because sometimes I'm just, I don't know if I get overwhelmed by replying to people, but sometimes my replying is not good, and that's not good enough.
Yeah.
Especially with what I do, I need to be on job with certain things. So because I know it's not a strong suit of mine, I need to be intentional about working on it and then making sure I respond. But then I realized that sometimes I forget to respond because I don't know what exactly to respond, but I'm waiting on the right thing to respond.
Right.
But then also it's like, because you're doing that, now I'm forgetting. So to prevent me from forgetting, when you see the message, try and just respond to it quickly. If you have something in mind that you don't need to think about too tough, just respond to it. And that's the thing. When we see things that I would say that are not our strong suit, as people like to be like, oh, that's just how I am. That's not just how I am. I can change that. And that is costing me relationships that I could develop to be like closer with people, because I'm not actually showing up properly. And we have to be real with ourselves. How are we showing up within friendships and relationships? Like, are you actually someone that can be depended on? Or are you someone that's a D&D warrior? Like...
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful that you replied to my emails and messages on time. Makes me feel special.
No problem. I'm definitely better. But yeah, there's still space for improvement, Sha.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But it's been a really lovely conversation. Just to end off on, let's talk a bit about what you're doing with your company and how people can get involved with it.
So I'll say the main way you can contact me will be through my Instagram, DANIE__COLLE. Just shoot me a DM. Please don't just send hi. Please tell me what exactly you would want. If you have a question or whatnot, just add it into the first message you sent me. And also, if you would like me to deliver a talk or a workshop, you can shoot me a message. And I'm looking to do more speaking engagements this year. And I'll say moving more from doing one-on-ones with people to a bit more workshops. Yeah.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.